I never thought I'd be the one to destroy a family. But here I am typing this out, still shaking from everything that happened, and honestly, I don't even know if I'm the asshole or if I'm just the one who got caught in the crossfire. Let me start from the beginning because the whole situation is messy and I need you to understand how we got here. My name is not important, but let's call me Sarah. I'm 27 and I'm engaged to the most incredible man I've ever met. His name is George, he's 38, and when I tell you he completely transformed his life for me, I mean it. But before I get into that, I need to explain the web of relationships that makes this whole thing so complicated. My older brother David is 35. He's always been the stable one, the guy who had his life together while I was still figuring things out. About 4 years ago, David met this woman named Ella. She was 30 at the time, beautiful, driven, and according to my brother, she was the one. They got married within 7 months of meeting each other. Fast, I know, but David was happy and that's all that mattered to me. What I didn't know at the time was that Ella had dated someone before my brother, someone named George. And George is my fiance now. I know it sounds like a soap opera, but I swear every word of this is true. See, George and Ella dated briefly about 4 years ago. It was only for 6 months, but Ella was serious about him. She wanted marriage, she wanted kids, she wanted the whole white picket fence dream, but George wasn't there yet. Back then, George was in a dark place. He was partying hard, doing drugs, and he wasn't exactly the most reliable person you'd ever meet. He didn't want to settle down, especially not with someone who was pushing him so hard for commitment. So things ended badly, like screaming matches in public badly, like mutual friends picking sides badly. Ella was devastated. She couldn't understand why George wouldn't commit to her. And then, almost immediately after the breakup, she met my brother David at some mutual friend's barbecue. They hit it off instantly. Within a week, they were inseparable. Within a month, they were engaged. And within 7 months, they were married. I didn't connect the dots back then. Why would I? I didn't even know who George was. I was living my own life, working my own job, dating other people. It wasn't until 2 years ago that George and I crossed paths. We met at a coffee shop downtown. I was getting my usual iced latte and he was in line behind me. We started talking about the book I was reading and one thing led to another. He asked for my number, I gave it to him. And from our very first real date, I could tell he was different. He told me early on that he had a past, that he used to party, that he used to do some stupid things. But he said that when he started feeling attracted to me, something clicked in his head. He wanted to be better. He wanted to be the kind of person I deserved. So he quit drinking cold turkey. He flushed his stash down the toilet. He started going to therapy twice a week. He changed his whole life around and he did it before we ever even kissed. I didn't ask him to do any of that. He did it on his own, and I was there for every step of his healing journey. I drove him to his first AA meeting. I sat with him when he had panic attacks about facing his past. I held his hand when he called his parents to apologize for all the years he'd put them through hell. It wasn't always easy, but it was real. And our relationship became the healthiest, most amazing thing I've ever experienced. We were together for 6 months before I found out about Ella. And I didn't find out from George, I found out from my own brother. David called me one night, his voice weird and strained. He asked me who I was dating. I told him George's name and there was this long pause on the other end. Then he said, Sarah, you need to know something. George used to date Ella. I didn't know what to say. I mean, what do you say to that? My brother's wife used to date my boyfriend. It was too weird to process. But David told me not to worry about it. He said it was old news that Ella had moved on, that George had obviously moved on, and that as long as George treated me right, there was no problem. I believed him. I wanted to believe him, but then Ella found out, and that's when everything went to hell. Ella was furious, not just a little bit annoyed, but full-on, red-faced, spitting mad furious. She started spreading rumors about George and me. She told my parents that George was grooming me. I was 25 when we started dating and he was 36. That's an 11-year age gap, sure, but I'm not a child. I was a grown woman who had already been living on her own for years. But she kept saying it over and over. He's grooming her, he's taking advantage of her, she doesn't know what she's doing. Then she escalated. She started telling everyone that George was abusing me, that he was hitting me. That he was isolating me from my family. That he was trying to get me hooked on drugs like he used to be. She said all these terrible things and she said them with such conviction that some people actually believed her. I tried to confront her about it once. It was at a family dinner at my parents' house. I pulled her aside in the kitchen and asked her why she was lying about us. She looked me straight in the eye and said, I'm not lying, you just can't see the truth because you're blinded by him. I wanted to scream, I wanted to shake her, but I kept my cool and told her to stay out of my relationship. She laughed and said, you'll thank me one day when he destroys your life. That was the first time I realized she wasn't just bitter, she was obsessed. She couldn't stand the fact that George had changed for me when he wouldn't change for her. She couldn't stand that he was serious about me when he had never been serious about her. And she was willing to burn everything down to make sure I didn't get the happily ever after that she thought she deserved. The family drama got worse from there. My parents started asking questions. My brother David looked uncomfortable every time George's name came up. Even my extended family started whispering about whether I was really safe with George. It was humiliating. I felt like I was on trial for falling in love with the wrong person, but George and I stayed strong. We ignored the rumors. We kept living our lives. And when George proposed to me 6 months ago, I said yes without hesitation. That's when Ella completely lost it. I thought I was overreacting at first. I mean, family drama is one thing, but Ella was taking it to a level I never expected. After the proposal, she started calling my parents every single day, crying, telling them that George was going to hurt me, that he was going to ruin my life, that if they let me marry him, they'd be accessories to abuse. She even went to my aunt and told her that George had a criminal record, which was a complete lie. George had never been arrested for anything. His past was drugs and partying, not violence or theft. But she was spinning this web of lies so thick that even my mom started looking at me with pity. The breaking point came about 2 months before the wedding. I was at David and Ella's house for a barbecue trying to keep the peace. George was with me. We were all sitting outside, burgers on the grill, kids running around. Ella was acting civil for once, smiling, asking about wedding plans. I thought maybe she had finally accepted it. But then she excused herself to go inside and I saw her phone light up on the table next to me. A text popped up from a name I didn't recognize. Got the photos. When do you want to send them? Something in my gut twisted. I didn't touch her phone, but I told George. He went pale. He said she's going to try to frame me for something. And he was right. 3 days later, my brother David called me, his voice shaking. He said the police had shown up at his door. Someone had filed a report claiming George had made threats against Ella. The officer asked David if he knew anything, and David said no. But when the officer described the report, David realized the phone number used to file it was Ella's best friend's number. He confronted Ella that night. She broke down and admitted she had asked her friend to file a false police report. She said she wanted to scare me to make George look dangerous so I would call off the wedding. David was devastated. He told me he was done with her. He said he couldn't be married to someone who would lie to the police and try to destroy his sister's life. He filed for divorce the next week. Our parents were furious at Ella. My mom called her every name in the book. My dad told her she was banned from any family events, including the wedding. Ella tried to fight it. She tried to get David to take her back. She even showed up at my house crying and apologizing. But I looked at her and I felt nothing. Not anger, not pity. Just emptiness. George and I got married last month. It was small, just close family and friends. David came alone. He looked relieved. He hugged me and said, "I'm sorry I didn't see it sooner." I told him it wasn't his fault, and honestly, I meant it. But that whole experience made me realize how messy love can get, how people will destroy themselves just to avoid facing their own failures. And it made me think about another story I heard from a buddy of mine, Jake. His situation was completely different but just as insane. Jake is 26, a chill guy, works in it. He was engaged to a woman named Jane, 27, a teacher. They had been together for 3 years and everything seemed perfect. They set a date, booked a venue, sent out invites. Jake's bachelor party was low-key. He stayed home playing World of Warcraft Classic with his friends. He wasn't into strippers or partying. Jane, on the other hand, had a big bachelorette party planned. A limo, a night out, some club with dancers. Jake didn't think much of it. He trusted her. But the day after the party, Jake got a phone call that changed everything. It was from a guy he barely knew, the husband of one of Jane's bridesmaids. The guy sounded nervous. He said, "Hey man, I need to tell you something. My wife told me what happened at the bachelorette party. She's really upset. She thinks you should know." Jake asked what he was talking about. The guy hesitated, then said, "Jane got hands-on with the stripper, like full-on handjob. My wife saw it." Jake said his whole body went cold. He had told Jane from day one that any sexual contact outside the relationship was a deal breaker. No exceptions. They had talked about it multiple times. She agreed wholeheartedly, so this wasn't just a suspicion, it was a betrayal of the most basic agreement they had. He didn't scream, he didn't cry, he just said okay and hung up. He drove straight to his parents' house. He needed space. He couldn't be around people who reminded him of her. He stayed in his childhood bedroom, staring at the ceiling, listening to the Doors and Opeth on repeat. He tried to convince himself it was a mistake. Maybe the bridesmaid's husband was wrong. Maybe he misinterpreted something. Maybe it was a joke, but deep down, Jake knew. The next morning, he called his cousin who had been at the party. His cousin had been friends with Jane since childhood, so she would know the truth. But when he called, she didn't pick up. He tried 5 times, nothing. Red alarms went off in his head. Why was she avoiding him? He texted her, "Please call me, it's urgent." No reply for hours. Finally, late that night, his cousin called back. Her voice was shaky. She said, "Jake, I don't know how to tell you this, but I saw it." She was in the back room with the stripper. It wasn't just a lap dance, it was more. I wanted to stop her, but she was drunk and the other girls were cheering her on. I didn't know what to do. Jake felt like he was going to throw up. He thanked his cousin and hung up. Then he sat in the dark for an hour trying to figure out what to do next. He didn't want to confront Jane without proof. He didn't want to be that guy who accuses his fiance based on hearsay. But his cousin had seen it. The bridesmaid's husband had seen it. That was 2 witnesses. He waited 2 days before calling Jane. He kept his voice calm. He said, "We need to talk. Can you come over?" She said sure, she'd be there in an hour. When she walked in, she was smiling, talking about wedding decorations. Jake just sat her down and said, "I know what happened at your bachelorette party." The smile dropped off her face. She went pale. She started stuttering, trying to explain. "It wasn't what you think. I was drunk. The girls dared me. It didn't mean anything. I love you." Jake didn't raise his voice. He just said, "We had a rule. You broke it. I can't marry someone who does that." She started crying, begging, saying she'd do anything to fix it. But Jake had already checked out. He told her to leave. She did, sobbing. The wedding was called off. Jake lost the deposit on the venue. He lost the deposits on the caterer and the photographer. His parents were supportive, but his mom cried for weeks. Jane's family blamed him for being too harsh. They said it was just a stupid party mistake, but Jake stood his ground. He knew that if he married her, he'd never trust her again. He told me that the hardest part wasn't the breakup. It was the silence, the empty apartment, the canceled RSVPs. He said he would sit in his living room and just stare at the wall, wondering how someone who claimed to love you could throw it all away for a few minutes of attention from a stranger. That story hit me hard because it reminded me of how fragile trust is. How one bad decision can unravel years of love, but not every story ends in cancellation. Sometimes the truth comes out in the most unexpected way, like what happened to a kid I know. The kid I'm talking about is Sam. He's just 17, works at a coffee shop near his high school. Nice kid, quiet, keeps his head down. His girlfriend, let's call her Rachel, is also 17. They've been dating for about 6 months, nothing too serious, just movie nights and texting. But Rachel has an older sister, Megan, who's 24. Megan is engaged to a guy named Kyle. The wedding is set for July. Everyone in the family is excited. Sam S. met Megan a few times. She seemed nice, a little high-strung, always talking about floral arrangements and venue deposits. Then one afternoon in early May, Sam's working the closing shift at the coffee shop. It's a Tuesday, so it's slow. He's behind the counter wiping down the espresso machine when his coworker nudges him and points at a couple in the corner booth. They're going at it full-on, making out, hands everywhere, moaning loud enough that other customers are staring. Sam's coworker laughs and says they need to get a room. This is a coffee shop, not a motel. Sam shrugs, not really paying attention. But then he glances again and his stomach drops. The woman is Megan, Rachel's sister, engaged Megan. And the guy she's all over is not Kyle. Sam freezes. He doesn't know what to do. He ducks behind the counter, hoping she didn't see him. He tells his coworker he needs to restock the cups and he stays in the back for 10 minutes. When he comes out, the couple is gone. He breathes a sigh of relief, grabs a rag and starts cleaning the tables near that booth. He's just wiping down the salt shakers when the door chimes. Megan walks back in. She must have forgotten something. She sees Sam and her face goes white. She stares at him and he can see the panic in her eyes. She walks over and hisses, "You didn't see anything. Tell me you didn't see anything." Sam tries to play dumb. "See what?" "Didn't see anything." But she knows she's not stupid. She says, "We need to talk, I'll find you." And then she leaves. Sam is freaking out. He finishes his shift in a daze. When he gets home, his phone blows up. Rachel is texting him, "What's going on with you and Megan?" She's super upset. She says you need to come over. Sam doesn't know what Megan told her, but it can't be good. He texts back, "I can't, my parents won't let me leave the house." That's true, he's grounded for a bad grade. But Rachel doesn't care. She says, "We'll drive to your house, sneak out and meet us." Sam says, "That's hard, I can't." Rachel says, "Please." Sam is stuck. He doesn't want to lie, but he also doesn't want to destroy Megan's engagement. He barely knows Kyle. He's never even had a conversation with the guy, but Rachel is his girlfriend and she's asking him to meet her. He calls Rachel and says, "Look, I don't know what Megan told you, but I didn't do anything wrong. I saw something at work and I don't want to talk about it." Rachel gets quiet. She says, "Sam, just tell me, please." So he does. He tells her exactly what he saw, Megan making out with some guy in the coffee shop. Rachel is silent for a long time, then she says, "I need to talk to her." She hangs up. The next day, Sam gets a text from Megan, "We need to meet, just you and me, please don't tell anyone else." Sam is terrified, but he agrees. They meet at a park near his school. Megan is crying. She says, "You can't tell Kyle, you can't tell my parents. It was a mistake, I was drunk, it won't happen again." Sam says, "I don't even know Kyle, I don't want to ruin anything. I also don't want to lie." Megan grabs his arm, "Please, I'll do anything. If he finds out, he'll leave me. The wedding is in 2 months, I'll lose everything." Sam feels bad for her. He's a kid. He doesn't know how to handle this. He says, "I won't say anything, but if Rachel asks, I'm not lying to her." Megan nods and they part ways, but of course Rachel already knows and Rachel is furious. She confronts Megan that night. Megan tries to deny it, but Rachel says, "Sam saw you. He told me." Megan breaks down and admits it. She says the guy was an old fling who showed up at the party and she got carried away. Rachel tells her she has to tell Kyle. Megan begs her not to. Rachel says, "If you don't tell him, I will." So Megan, cornered, calls Kyle the next day. He comes over and she confesses everything. Kyle is devastated. He yells, he throws a vase against the wall, he calls off the wedding. The family is in chaos. Megan's parents are furious at her, but they're also mad at Sam for being the one who saw it. They say he should have minded his own business. Sam's girlfriend Rachel is caught in the middle. She loves her sister, but she's disgusted by what Megan did. She tells Sam she needs space. Sam feels like he's lost everything too. He didn't ask to see that. He just wanted to work his shift and go home. But now his girlfriend is distant, his family is gossiping about him, and he's the bad guy in Megan's story. A few weeks later, Megan moves out. She goes to stay with a friend. Kyle moves out of the apartment they shared. The wedding is canceled. Sam still works at the coffee shop, and every time a couple makes out in the corner booth, he flinches. Rachel comes back to him eventually. She says she's sorry for pulling away. She knows it wasn't his fault, but things are different now. They're not the same. The trust is just a little cracked. And the worst part, a week after the breakup, Megan's ex Fling ghosted her. She was left alone, no fiance, no side guy. She tried to reach out to Kyle, but he blocked her. She called Sam once crying and said, "You ruined my life." Sam just said, "You ruined your own life, I just happened to see it." Then he hung up. He told me he doesn't feel guilty. He feels tired. He's 17 and he's already learned that secrets always come out one way or another. I never thought I'd be the kind of person whose wedding planning gets derailed by a jealous ex. But here I am, 27, engaged to the man I love, and my own sister-in-law is trying to destroy my relationship because she can't let go of a 6-month fling from 4 years ago. Let me back up. My name's not important, but let's call me Annie. I'm 27, my fiancé is George, 38, my older brother is David, 32, and my sister-in-law Ella is 34. Yeah, that's where it gets complicated. George and Ella dated briefly 4 years ago for about 6 months. George was in a bad place back then, partying too much, doing drugs, not really a stable guy. Ella wanted marriage and kids right away, but George wasn't that guy. They broke up in drama. Ella was furious that she couldn't change him. Then within a year of that breakup, Ella met my brother David. They got married after only 6 or 7 months of dating. So in the span of about a year and a few months, Ella dated George, broke up, met my brother, and married him. Fast forward 2 years. I met George completely by accident at a friend's barbecue. I had no idea he was Ella's ex. He didn't know I was David's sister. We hit it off instantly. And George, I swear, he was a different man than the one Ella described. He had already started turning his life around before we met, but when we started dating, he got serious. He quit drinking cold turkey, he quit the drugs, he started therapy. He became the most stable, loving, supportive partner I could imagine. I'm so proud of him. But Ella found out we were dating and she lost her mind. She couldn't stand that George, the guy who wouldn't settle for her, was now engaged to me. She started spreading lies. She told our family that George was grooming me. I was 25 when we started dating, he was 36. That's an 11-year age gap, sure, but I was a grown woman with a job and a degree, not a child. She told everyone George was abusing me, trying to get me addicted to drugs like he used to be. She said he was isolating me from my family. None of it was true. George never touched a drink or a drug in the 2 years I knew him. He encouraged me to hang out with my friends. He paid for my therapy too because he wanted us both to be healthy, but Ella was relentless. She would text me late at night accusing me of stealing her life. She'd call my mom crying, saying she was worried about me. My mom started to believe her. My dad wasn't sure. My brother David, her husband, was stuck in the middle. He loved Ella, but he also loved me. He didn't know what to believe. The worst part came 6 months ago when George proposed to me. It was a small thing at a park where we had our first date with just a few close friends. I said yes. We were so happy. We announced it on social media. Within an hour, Ella had posted a long, cryptic status about how some people will never learn and the truth always comes out. My phone started blowing up. People were asking me if George was really clean. If he had hurt anyone, if I was safe. I tried to ignore it, but then my brother called. "Annie, I need to talk to you. Ella is really upset. She says George threatened her." I said, "That's a lie. He hasn't spoken to her in years." David said, "She says he showed up at her work last week." I knew that was impossible because George and I were on a trip to Canada that whole week. I sent David our flight itinerary and hotel receipts. He got quiet. "Okay," he said, "I'll talk to her." But Ella didn't stop. She escalated. She went to George's parents and told them he was using again, that he had relapsed and was hiding it. George's mom called him in tears. George had to take a drug test on the spot and show her the negative results. His mom apologized, but the damage was done. George was humiliated. I was done. I told David that if Ella didn't stop, I would have to cut contact with both of them. David begged me to give her another chance. He said she was just insecure, that she needed therapy. I said, "She needs to stop lying about my fiancé." David said, "I'll talk to her again." 3 weeks later, Ella went nuclear. She filed a false police report claiming George had assaulted her at a grocery store 3 years ago. She had a friend lie and say they witnessed it. The police showed up at our apartment one Saturday morning. I thought I was having a heart attack. George was calm. He said, "I have never touched that woman. I have witnesses from that day. I was at a rehab facility across the state." He pulled out his discharge papers from a treatment center dated the exact week of the alleged assault. The police checked, verified, and closed the case. They warned Ella about filing false reports. That was the breaking point. David finally saw the truth. He confronted Ella and she admitted she made it all up because she couldn't stand to see George happy with me. David told her she needed help, professional help, and that if she didn't get it, he would divorce her. Ella refused. She said everyone was against her. She packed a bag and left. David called me sobbing. He said, "I'm so sorry. I should have believed you from the start." I told him it wasn't his fault. He was married to a manipulative person. He didn't know what to do. Right now, Ella is living with her parents. David filed for separation. The family is split. My parents are ashamed they ever doubted me. George's family is furious. My wedding is in 3 months and Ella is not invited. David is coming alone. He's still hurting, but he says he's glad the truth is out. As for me, I'm just tired. I never wanted to be the center of this drama. I just wanted to marry the man I love. Now I have to deal with the aftermath of his ex's obsession. Some people say I should forgive Ella because she's family. But I can't. She tried to ruin George's life. She tried to ruin mine. That's not something you just move past. George and I are in couples counseling just to make sure we stay strong through this. He's handling it better than me. He says he's used to people thinking the worst of him. He's been clean for 3 years, but the stigma sticks. I hate that. I hate that she dragged up his past when he worked so hard to change. The wedding is still on. I'm going to walk down that aisle and I'm going to marry the man who quit everything to be with me. Ella can stay mad. She can stay bitter. She lost David. She lost her chance at George. And she lost any respect I had left for her. I don't know if we'll ever be a normal family again, but I know I made the right choice. Sometimes the people who are supposed to love you are the ones who hurt you the most, and the only thing you can do is protect yourself. But that's not the only wedding drama I've heard of. Another story that still makes my stomach turn happened to a guy I'll call Matt. He was 26, engaged to a woman named Jane, 27. They had a clear boundary from the start. Any sexual contact with anyone else outside the relationship was a deal breaker. No gray areas, no exceptions. He trusted her completely. Then 10 days before the wedding, he got a phone call that turned his world upside down. Matt had just spent the evening at home playing World of Warcraft Classic with some buddies. It was his version of a bachelor party, low-key, no strippers, just pizza and raids. He was in a great mood. Jane was at her bachelorette party, out with her bridesmaids somewhere downtown. He figured she was having fun, maybe too much wine, but he wasn't worried. They had a solid relationship. They communicated. He thought nothing could break them. Then his phone rang around midnight. It was one of the bridesmaids' husbands. The guy sounded weird, hesitant. He said, "Matt, I gotta tell you something. I saw something at the party that I think you need to know." Matt asked what he meant. The guy took a long breath and said, "I'm pretty sure Jane got sexual with one of the strippers, like a handjob. I'm not guessing. I'm 100% sure." Matt felt like the floor dropped out from under him. He asked if the guy could be misinterpreting something, maybe a text or a conversation he overheard. The guy said no. He was adamant. He said his wife, the bridesmaid, had told him everything. She was the one who saw it happen and felt guilty. She used her husband as a proxy to tell Matt because she was scared of Jane's reaction. Matt hung up and just sat there in the dark. He couldn't even think. He turned off his game and put on some music, The Doors' Opeth. He spent the whole night staring at the ceiling, trying not to scream. He didn't confront Jane right away because she was staying at her parents' house. He waited until noon the next day and called his cousin who had been at the party, but his cousin didn't pick up. He called 5 times, nothing. Red alarms were blaring in his head. He drove to his cousin's apartment. His cousin finally answered, looking pale. Matt said, "Tell me what happened at the party." His cousin broke down and admitted she saw Jane go into a back room with one of the male strippers. She didn't see exactly what happened, but Jane came out looking flushed and fixing her dress. Another bridesmaid later whispered that Jane had given the guy a handjob as a joke, not funny. Matt called Jane. She denied everything at first. Then she cried and said it was just a stupid mistake. She was drunk. It didn't mean anything. Matt reminded her of their boundary. She said she was sorry. He said sorry wasn't enough. He called off the wedding. He spent the next few weeks at his parents' house, surrounded by family, trying to piece himself back together. The last I heard, Jane was trying to get him to take her back, but he told me he could never look at her the same way. Trust was gone. And once it's gone, you can't glue it back. That whole mess made me think about how one night can ruin years of planning. But there's another story that sticks with me, even though it's smaller, and it involves a 17-year-old barista who saw something he shouldn't have. He worked at a coffee shop. He was dating a girl, let's call her Sam. Sam's older sister, 24, was engaged to be married in July. One afternoon, he was working the register and a couple walked in all over each other. They were kissing hard, hands everywhere in a corner booth. His coworkers whispered, "Get a room." Then he realized the woman was Sam's sister, and the guy she was with was not her fiance. He froze. He didn't know what to do. He stayed hidden behind the espresso machine until they left. Then he went to clean the tables, hoping the coast was clear. But Sam's sister came back inside. She forgot something, or maybe she was checking to see if he had seen. She spotted him. Her face went white. She grabbed his arm and begged, "You didn't see anything. Please tell me you didn't see anything." He said he didn't, but she knew he was lying. She told him they weren't done, that they would have to talk later. That night, his phone buzzed. Sam texted, "What's going on with you and my sister?" "She's really upset." He said he didn't know. Sam said her sister wanted to meet him and she would drive to his house if he snuck out. He was 17, still under his parents' rules, and he couldn't go. He told Sam no, but she kept pushing. He ended up telling Sam the truth. Sam confronted her sister. The sister admitted everything, but then she tried to spin it, said her fiancé was abusive, that she needed an escape. Sam didn't buy it. Her sister's fiancé was a decent guy. Everyone knew that. The sister was just cheating and got caught. The engagement was called off. The family fell apart. Sam and her sister barely speak. And the barista, he told me he learned that secrets are toxic. You can't keep them without poisoning yourself, so that's where I'm at. I'm watching these wedding stories unfold around me and I can't help but feel like the whole institution is built on trust, and once that trust cracks, everything crumbles. My wedding is still 3 months away. I'm going to marry George, but I know now that love isn't enough. It takes honesty, loyalty, and the willingness to walk away when someone tries to destroy what you've built. I'm not going to let Ella or anyone else break us, not anymore. I remember that barista kid. He was only 17 working at a coffee shop just trying to get through his shift. He told me that after he told his girlfriend Sam the truth, things got ugly fast. Sam's sister, the one who was engaged, she didn't just admit it, she spun the whole thing. She told Sam that her fiance was abusive, that she needed an escape, that the guy at the coffee shop was just a friend. Sam didn't buy it. She knew her sister's fiance was a decent guy. He worked construction, always brought flowers, never raised his voice. But the sister kept pushing, crying, saying Sam was betraying her by believing a teenager over her own flesh and blood. The barista's parents found out when Sam's mom called them, screaming that their son was trying to break up a happy relationship. His dad grounded him for a week. He said it wasn't fair, but his parents were scared of the drama. He texted Sam every night, but she was getting pulled between him and her sister. Then, on May 20th, 2014, he got an update from Sam. She had talked to her sister's fiancé. The fiancé said he had suspected something for months. He found texts on her phone, late nights, excuses. He already knew, he just didn't have proof. The barista's sighting was the confirmation he needed. He called off the engagement that same week. The sister went ballistic. She showed up at the coffee shop, screamed at him in front of customers. She called him a liar, a little shit, said he ruined her life. The manager had to call the cops. She was banned from the shop. Sam's family shattered. The parents took the sister's side because she was the golden child. They said Sam was wrong for choosing her boyfriend over her sister. Sam and the barista stayed together through it, but the pressure was brutal. He felt guilty even though he knew he did the right thing. By May 23rd, the sister had moved out of state to live with some cousin. She left a note blaming everyone but herself. The fiancé started therapy. Sam and the barista kept dating, but the trust in their own relationship got shaky. He said he couldn't stop thinking about how easily someone can lie, how a whole wedding can be built on a lie. Sam would ask him if he ever doubted her, and he said no, but he started to wonder. He started to notice little things. It ate at him. Then on May 30th, the final update came. Sam's sister sent a mass text to the family saying she was pregnant. She claimed it was her ex-fiancé's baby, but the timeline didn't match. She had been sleeping with the guy from the coffee shop, the one she was making out with. The barista knew because he saw them again a week later, same coffee shop, same booth. He didn't tell Sam, he was tired of being the messenger, but Sam found out anyway when a mutual friend spilled it. Sam confronted her sister, and the sister admitted the baby might not be the fiancé's. The engagement was long dead, but the lies kept coming. The barista told me he learned something that summer. Secrets are like fire. They burn the person holding them first. He said he would never keep a secret like that again. He'd rather be the bad guy than the guy who watched someone get married to a liar. Sam and he broke up a few months later. Not because of the sister, but because the whole thing made him realize he couldn't trust anyone fully. He was 17. He had his whole life ahead, but that experience left a scar. I thought about that while I was planning my own wedding. George and I were in counseling. We talked about the stripper story I had heard from Matt. George said he couldn't imagine doing that to me. He said the whole bachelor party culture is toxic. He wanted to do what Matt did, stay home with friends, play games, no strippers, no temptation. I agreed. It felt like we were building something solid. But I still had nightmares about Ella, about her showing up at the ceremony, about George relapsing. Then Matt called me. He sounded better. He said he had moved out of his parents' house. He had a new apartment. Jane kept texting him, begging, apologizing, sending photos of them together. He blocked her. He said the trust was gone and no amount of crying would bring it back. He told me he was glad he found out before the wedding. He said, imagine if she had done that after we were married. I would have been trapped. I told him I agreed. He said he was seeing a therapist too. He said the betrayal made him question everything about himself. He asked if I ever doubted George. I said no, but that was a lie. I doubted him every time Ella's name came up. I doubted him when he was late from work. I doubted him when he didn't answer his phone. That's what cheating does. It poisons the well. I started to wonder if I was being paranoid. George never gave me a reason to doubt. He showed me his phone, his location, his emails. He was open about everything, but I couldn't shake the feeling that people are capable of anything. I saw it in Matt's story. I saw it in the coffee shop kid's story. I saw it in my own sister-in-law. The only thing I could do was trust my gut and keep communicating. One night, George and I were lying in bed. He asked me if I was scared. I said yes. He took my hand and said, I'm not going to hurt you. I've spent 3 years becoming the man you deserve. I'm not throwing that away. I believed him, but believing someone and trusting them are different. Trust has to be rebuilt every day. I told him that. He said he understood. Our wedding is in 2 months now. Ella is out of the picture. David is coming alone, but he's distant. He still thinks I overreacted. He says Ella made a mistake and I should forgive her. I told him I can't. I told him she tried to destroy George's reputation. She called him a groomer. She called him an abuser. Those words have consequences. George lost friends. He lost job opportunities. People looked at him differently. You can't just brush that aside, so I'm done being the bigger person. I'm done letting family guilt me into silence. These stories, Matt's, the barista's, my own, they all taught me that you have to protect yourself. No one else will. If you let people walk over you, they will. And they'll invite their friends. I'm not going to let that happen. I'm walking down that aisle with my eyes open. I'm marrying George because he earned it, and if anyone tries to tear us apart, they'll have to go through me first. That's not bitterness. That's survival. But let me tell you about Matt. He told me his story himself one night when we were both sitting in his living room, his parents' house, with the TV off and the silence heavy. He was a guy who had everything planned out: engagement ring, wedding venue, honeymoon booked. Then one phone call tore it apart. Matt said it started with a guy he barely knew, one of the bridesmaids' husbands. The guy called him on a Sunday evening, right after Matt had spent the whole day playing WoW Classic with his friends, laughing, drinking beer, feeling like the luckiest man alive. The guy's voice was tight. "Hey man, I need to tell you something. I saw something at Jane's bachelorette party." Matt said he felt the room go cold. He asked what he meant. The guy hesitated. Then he said, "I'm pretty sure Jane was sexual with one of the strippers, like a handjob." Matt said he almost dropped the phone. He asked if the guy was sure if he could have misread a text or an overheard conversation. But the guy kept insisting he was 100% certain. He said his wife, the bridesmaid, was crying when she told him. She felt guilty. She wanted Matt to know but didn't want to be the one to say it, so she used her husband as a proxy. Matt said he hung up and just sat there staring at the wall. He didn't scream, he didn't cry, he just went numb. He had just had one of the best days of his life, and now this. He said he tried to calm himself down, told himself it could be a misunderstanding. Jane was supposed to be his future. They had a rule from day one: no sex or romantic kissing with anyone else ever. It was a deal breaker, they both agreed, so why would she do this? He decided to wait until the next day to talk. He called his cousin first thing the next morning. No answer. He called again. Voicemail. Third time, fourth, nothing. Red flags everywhere. He drove to his cousin's apartment, knocked on the door for 10 minutes. Finally, she opened it, eyes puffy, wouldn't look at him. He said, "I know what happened at the bachelorette party." She started crying. She said, "I didn't want to tell you. I didn't want to ruin anything." He asked if it was true. She nodded. She said Jane and the stripper went into the bathroom together for about 15 minutes. When they came out, the stripper was fixing her hair and Jane was adjusting her dress. Another bridesmaid made a joke about getting a happy ending and Jane laughed it off. But the cousin saw Jane's face. She knew something happened. Matt said he felt his stomach drop. He asked if anyone else saw. The cousin said the bridesmaids, who were still sober, noticed, but they all agreed to keep quiet. They didn't want to ruin the wedding vibe. They thought it was just drunk fun. Matt said, "Drunk fun? She gave a guy a handjob. That's not fun, that's cheating." The cousin just cried. He drove straight to Jane's parents' house. She was there, still in her pajamas, hair messy, looking surprised to see him. He said, "We need to talk." She tried to smile, said, "You look serious." He didn't smile back. He said, "I know about the stripper." Her face went white. She said, "What are you talking about?" He said, "Don't lie to me. I have witnesses." She started stammering, saying it was nothing. She was drunk. She didn't remember. It didn't mean anything. He said, "We had a rule: no sexual contact with anyone else. That was the rule. You broke it." She started crying, begging him not to end things. She said, "I love you. It was a mistake. I was stupid. Please, I'll do anything." He said he looked at her and felt nothing. No anger, no sadness, just emptiness. He told her the engagement was off. He walked out. Her mom followed him to the car, started yelling at him, saying he was overreacting, that it was just a bachelorette party, that he was being controlling. He didn't even respond. He just drove away. That night, Jane blew up his phone. Texts, calls, voicemails. She sent screenshots of her apologizing to the bridesmaids, saying she regretted everything. She sent a photo of her crying. She even sent a video of her talking to her therapist, asking if the therapist could call Matt to prove she was getting help. He blocked her number. Then she started emailing him. He blocked that too. He told me all of this while we were sitting in his parents' basement a week after the breakup. He looked exhausted but also relieved. He said, "I dodged a bullet, I know that, but it still hurts. I trusted her completely." I asked if he ever thought about taking her back. He said no. He said the trust was gone and you can't rebuild that when someone does something like that behind your back, lies about it, and then expects you to just move on. He said the hardest part was telling his own family. They were all ready for the wedding. His mom had already bought her dress. His dad had booked a hotel block. He had to call everyone and say, "It's off, she cheated." Some people questioned him. They said, "Are you sure? Maybe it was a misunderstanding." He said, "I'm sure. I don't want to talk about it." His sister, who was always a little jealous, said, "Well, what did you expect? She was always too wild for you." That hurt more than he expected. He started therapy like George did. He said the therapist told him that betrayal trauma is real and that he shouldn't rush into forgiving or forgetting. He needed to feel the anger, the sadness, the loss. He said he spent 2 weeks just lying in bed listening to Opeth, replaying the phone call from that bridesmaid's husband. He said, "If that guy hadn't called me, I would have married her. I would have walked down the aisle, said my vows, and never known. I would have been tied to someone who could do that and lie about it." I told him he was lucky. He laughed bitterly. "Lucky? I don't feel lucky. I feel like I got hit by a train." but he agreed that finding out before the wedding was better than after. He said he was starting to rebuild his life. He got a new apartment. He started going to the gym. He cut off mutual friends who took Jane's side. He said he was learning that some people will always choose the person who smiles and cries rather than the person who tells the truth. We talked for a while about George. I told him about Ella, about how she tried to destroy George's reputation. He said, people like that, they don't stop until they're stopped. You did the right thing cutting her off. He asked if I ever worried George would relapse. I said, every day, but he's in therapy, he's honest, he's open. That's all I can ask for. Matt nodded. He said, I think I'll be single for a while. I need to learn to trust myself again before I can trust someone else. I drove home that night thinking about all of it. The barista kid from the coffee shop, the stripper story, my own sister-in-law. Every single one of those stories had one thing in common. Someone lied, someone covered it up, and someone got hurt. The only way to survive was to be honest, even when it was ugly. I was done with secrets. I was done with family guilt. I was done pretending everything was fine when it was. George called me as I was pulling into the driveway. He asked how Matt was doing. I told him. He was quiet for a second, then said, I'm glad we're not like that. I'm glad we talk. I said, me too. And I meant it. 2 weeks later, George and I went to a premarital counseling session. The counselor asked us to talk about our biggest fear about the marriage. I said, I'm afraid that George will go back to his old habits, that he'll start drinking again, or that he'll cheat, or that the pressure of being married will be too much. George said, I'm afraid that I'm not good enough for her, that she'll wake up one day and realize she made a mistake. The counselor made us look at each other and say one thing we appreciated. George said, I appreciate that you never gave up on me even when my past tried to chase you away. I said, I appreciate that you changed for yourself, not for me. That's real. We held hands after that session. I felt a little lighter, but I knew the weight of everything wouldn't just disappear. Trust was something you built brick by brick, and I had to keep building even when it was hard. The wedding is 2 months away now. David is coming alone, but he's distant. He still thinks I was too harsh with Ella. He said, she made a mistake. People make mistakes. I said, she made a choice to destroy someone's life. That's not a mistake. That's cruelty. He didn't answer. I don't know if our relationship will ever be the same, but I've accepted that. Some relationships are meant to change or end. George's family has been fully supportive. His mom hugged me at a family dinner and said, you saved my son. I don't know how to thank you. I told her, he saved himself. I just helped him find the door. She cried. I cried too. I still think about Ella sometimes, not with anger anymore, more like sadness. She was so obsessed with George that she couldn't see her own happiness. She had my brother, a good man who loved her, but he wasn't enough. She wanted to win and she lost everything. I don't want to be that person. I don't want to be consumed by jealousy or bitterness. I want to be the person who walks through fire and comes out clean. That's what I'm working on. So I'm walking down that aisle in 2 months. I'm wearing white. I'm not thinking about Ella or David or the stripper or the coffee shop. I'm thinking about George, his sober eyes, his steady hands, his quiet courage. That's what I'm saying yes to. But not every story ends that cleanly. Sometimes the truth comes out in a coffee shop. This next story is about a guy who found himself in the middle of something he never asked for just because he was doing his job. I remember reading it and thinking that could have been me. The way people try to drag you into their lies, the way they beg you to keep quiet, the way they treat you like you're the one doing something wrong. It's all the same pattern. His name was Sam. He was 17, working at a coffee shop after school. He'd been dating this girl for a few months, nothing too serious, but they liked each other. Her sister was older, 24, engaged to be married in July. Sam had met the sister a couple times at family dinners. She seemed nice enough, always talking about the wedding, showing off the ring. One afternoon, it was busy. Sam was behind the counter, making drinks as fast as he could. His coworker nudged him and pointed to a couple in the corner booth. They need to get a room, the coworker said, laughing. Sam looked over. It was his girlfriend's sister. She was full on making out with some guy, hands in his hair, legs tangled. Definitely not her fiance. Sam froze. He couldn't believe it. He ducked behind the espresso machine, hoping she hadn't seen him. The couple left after a few minutes. Sam came out to wipe down tables, thinking they were gone, but then the sister walked back in, maybe to use the restroom or grab something she forgot. She saw him. Her face went pale. She rushed over and grabbed his arm. You didn't see anything, she whispered. Please, you didn't see anything. Sam tried to play dumb. See what? I don't know what you're talking about. But she wasn't buying it. You saw me, she said. I know you did. We need to talk. This isn't over. She left, but she was shaking. Sam got home that night and his phone blew up. His girlfriend was texting him. What's going on with you and my sister? She's really upset. She said you saw something. What did you see? Sam didn't know what to say. He said he didn't know, but the girlfriend kept pushing. She wants to meet you. She'll drive to your house if she has to. Sam told her his parents wouldn't let him leave. His girlfriend said, please, just sneak out. She's crying. Sam didn't sneak out. He was 17, living with his parents, and he wasn't about to get grounded for some drama he never asked for. Texted his girlfriend, your sister needs to tell you what happened. It's not my place. I don't want to be in the middle. But the sister wasn't letting go. She started calling him from different numbers. She left voicemails saying, if you tell anyone, I'll say you were harassing me. I'll say you made it up because you're jealous of the wedding. Sam was scared. He told his parents. They said, stay away from her, block her. If she shows up, we'll call the police. He never wanted to be involved. He just wanted to do his job, go home, play video games, but now he was a witness. He had a secret that could blow up someone's entire life. He ended up telling his girlfriend the truth. She didn't believe him at first. Then she asked her sister, who broke down and confessed. The engagement was called off. The sister blamed Sam. His girlfriend broke up with him, said he ruined her family. Sam told the story online, asking if he did the right thing. Most people said yes. But he still felt sick about it. He said, "I never wanted to hurt anyone, I just saw what I saw." That's the thing about secrets, they don't stay buried. They find a way out and everyone who touches them gets burned. I think about Sam sometimes and I hope he's okay. I hope he learned that telling the truth even when it costs you is still better than keeping a lie alive. I'm almost at the end now, 2 months till my wedding. George and I are still in therapy, still building trust. I still get nervous when he goes out late, but he always comes home, he always sends a text. He's not hiding anything, that's what matters. I don't know what happened to Ella after she got banned from the family. I heard she moved out of state. David is still mad at me, but he's starting to soften. He came over last week and said, "I miss you, I miss being your brother." I said, "I miss you too, but I can't pretend everything is fine." He nodded, he said, "I know, I'm sorry." That was enough for now. Matt is doing better. He's dating someone new, a girl he met at the gym. He said she doesn't know about Jane and he's not sure when to tell her. I said, "When it feels right. And if she's the right person, she'll understand." He said, "I hope so." And me, I'm walking down the aisle, I'm wearing white, I'm not looking back, I'm saying yes to the man who fought for me, who fought for himself. I'm saying yes to honesty even when it hurts. I'm saying yes to a future where we don't bury our secrets, we face them together. That's the end of this chapter, but it's not the end of the story, it never is.